I hear parents all the time say, I talk to my kids and they don't listen, they roll their eyes, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they may roll their eyes, but trust me, they're always watching. They may not acknowledge it. They may go, yeah, 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 yeah. And they may not process it for a week. And it may play back in their mind 10 days later, but they hear it and they're always watching. And if they're seeing, even if you put your coffee cup down a little harder that morning, if you've got that frown on your face, if you're sighing deeply, they pick up all of those cues that you're stressed, you're worried, and let me tell you, your home base, and if they feel that they've got a solid home base to return to, then they feel better about venturing out into the world. If they don't know that that home base is going to be there when they come back, if they think you're going to fall apart, then it really shakes their confidence. I get it. Parents have a legitimate reason to be stressed right now. So many of them have lost their jobs. So many of them have lost businesses that they spent 30 years building, and it was a narrow margin. And when everything shut down, they just couldn't sustain it. I get that. But at some point, they've got to decide I have to focus on what matters. And that's all of us being healthy. And if that means you got to downsize, move from a house to an apartment, whatever, what matters is that everybody is healthy, everybody's together, and focus on the positives. It can't be that you're just wringing your hands every minute, or you're going to teach your child anxiety.
Yes. And when we look at stories about children, I love some of the ones from Anna Freud from years back. It's tracking kids in World War II in England with the Blitz. Who survived that war? I mean, horrific, horrific. It wasn't the kids who were catered out and put onto the pastures on the wayside of England. It was the children who endeared and made it in the home. I remember a journalist interviewing me when I was writing Thrivers on resilience. And halfway through it, I realized that this woman was 85-ish and had been a very young kid during World War II. And I said, well, wait a minute, hold the fort here. Let's flip this. How did you make it through a blitz of every night with the air raid sirens and the black curtains? And she said, she honestly stopped and said, I don't remember that. I said, come on, you lived in London during that? How could you not? She says, boy, I remember the air raid sirens. But then I remember we'd pull the black light curtains. And from that moment on, what I remember us playing Ring Around the Rosies and singing. I know my parents must have been scared, but I never felt that. I remember us singing and playing games during that time. And it struck me like, wow, there's the piece that we may be missing. The power we have, and I don't think sometimes we forget, is those everyday little moments that you said, taking the deep breath with our kids, being able to just say, it's okay, we're going to get through it. Maybe there's a positive mantra we can come up with. And if you say it enough, I know sometimes as a teen, you don't want to look like you're lecturing them, but if you say it enough and it looks like you're just saying it out loud, what happens is, I got it. I am frustrated. I'll get through it. Pretty soon, your voice becomes your child's inner voice, and they've got something to counter that negative.
I always tell parents, look, I want you to at least once a week have a family meeting where everybody gets around in the living room or the kitchen table, no phones, no TV, and write out an agenda ahead of time and have a family meeting. And I can see in their face, like, that's so corny. Nobody does that anymore. And I tell them the more unnatural it feels, the more you need to do it. Because if it feels unnatural to get the family around and talk about how we're doing and what's really important, the more unnatural that feels, the more important it is that you do it, because it shouldn't feel unnatural. And I try to tell these parents, look, talk to your kids about things that don't matter. You watch these TV shows and they're medical shows, and what's the first thing they say when they roll somebody into the ER? They say, start an IV with Ringer's lactate. Nobody knows what that means. It's just something they say on TV, but what they're doing is they're just getting an IV started in a vein, so when they figure out what they do need medicinally, they've got a vein open, and all they have to do is just plug the medicine in. That's what I tell parents. I say, look, talk to your children about things that don't matter. Sports, a video game, the weather, the dog. So when it comes time to talk about things that do matter, you've got that channel open. The first time you talk to them, it's not about something of gravity, and they're going like, what is this? My dad's talking to me? No, you talk to them all the time. It's just now you've got the channel open and you're talking about something that matters. Talk about anything, just so the channel stays open, so when it's time to plug in something of importance, it doesn't seem so unusual. You've already got it going. And it's okay to do it while you're walking the dog. It's okay to do it while you're playing a game of horse. It's okay to do it while you're playing with dolls or something. They feel less conspicuous if you're doing something while you're talking about it.
Yeah, side-by-side talking sometimes is a lot less threatening than face-to-face talking, but there's another value to that. I'm so into family meetings. But when I looked at thrivers and what makes a thriver, I looked at all the research and found out there's 7 traits that are all teachable. And one of those you just nailed, and that's curiosity. A thriver is a kid who's open to ideas and possibilities. And how you learn that, one of the best ways is the family meeting. Not only does it help you just create that relationship of safety, but it also, hopefully, as the parent, you're allowing that kid to be able to speak up and share his ideas. You don't have to agree with them as long as he's respectful. But we've got to help our kids get out of these safe space zones where they feel like they can't have any kind of riskiness. But they're open to possibilities and say things. And that's exactly the way we can do it. That curiosity and risk adverse. Oh, wow. That's so critical for a child. Have a voice.
Parents ask me a lot, how do you motivate a kid that's like, I don't care? Well, I always say appeal to their greed. And that sounds like, what? Well, look, everybody has a currency, right? Everybody wants something. And if you can identify that kid's currency, what's important to them, and you can show them a way to constructively, positively earn that currency and show them that they can earn more than they could ever sneak around and steal, I promise you they're not dumb. If they understand, look, if I do A, B, and C, then I can play my video game or go to my friend's house and not be in trouble for it, instead of sneaking out the window or staying up all night after they think I'm in bed playing a video game. If you can appeal to their greed and show them how they can get what they want. I had a parent tell me one time, I said, how's your kid doing in school? He said, well, she's making all A's, but she's just doing it to manipulate me. And I'm like, so? She still had to learn the stuff to get the A's to manipulate you. Let her manipulate you. Are you kidding me? She, honest to God, said she's just making A's to manipulate me. And I'm like, well, so be manipulated. I could not believe that she said that. But I think you've got to appeal to their greed and let them see, hey, I can earn what I want. Again, that's the kid building from the inside out.
The building from the inside out. And remember back when we asked all the kids, what's the key point? I'm overwhelmed. And then the next thing along the way is I'm just not as motivated as I used to be. One of the things that kids are also saying that goes right back to your point is because they're so overwhelmed with the whole idea, if you've got a kid like that with so much work, there's a couple of simple little things you can do. And that is, number one, I know it's a huge project. So what's the first thing you're going to start on? Point them in the direction of the first row or the first problem, little kids in particular. Teach them to do the hardest thing first, because when you're doing homework and all you do is sitting there about, oh my gosh, I got so much to do. Well, get the thing that's really bugging you the most out of the way. And the next 2 hours, you'll be able to smooth sail. Another one is a coaching strategy that's so wonderful. I had a piano teacher, Mr. White, who was driving me absolutely crazy as a kid, because if I made one mistake anywhere through the problem, as I was going along with the recital, I'd have to start all over again. So all I would do was sit there and worry about where my mistake was. And I hated piano. Then bless Miss Thompson, because she came in and she had a whole different technique that we can use with our kids. She said, Michelle, let's find your one little stumbler, the one little thing that's bugging you. Oh, there it is. Now let's just practice that one little stumbler over and over and over again. What happened is my stress went down. I started at the beginning and went straight through. That's what a coach does. They never say, you might as well get off the field because you can't do anything right. They rewind the tape and say, it's your foot going that way. Let's make your foot go this way. Let's keep practicing that one thing. You'll get your kid over the stump and be able to keep on going. Little things can make such a difference with kids if you just help them so that that unmotivation is really a fear for some kids.